This right here is Fatherfog, a dark fairy tale horror game created by Tuesday Night Games, the creators of Mothership, another fantastic horror game, but that one set in space. This game has been out for a couple months now, I believe 2, so I thought I'd just do a quick flip through of it. I've read it through a couple times now. I'm very excited for what is in this book, so join me within the fog as we discuss the terrifying depths of Fatherfog. So what better way to start this video off than answering the question, what is Fatherfog, other than an absolutely fantastic name, especially if the first game that you really became popular with was Mothership, and then calling your next game Fatherfog. Great name. Fatherfog, like I said, is this dark fairy tale horror world. It is a world filled with this mysterious fog that has separated and isolated different villages, and it is actually a world in which the fairy tales that you, the player, know are real, but much more horrifying. The actual opening line to Fatherfog is pretty fantastic, and I think sums up what's going on in this setting very well. It says, "Welcome to Fatherfog, the fairy tale horror RPG where you and your fellow party members try to survive in a world where fairy tales, as you know them, exist in their full horror." So this is a game in which you are going to have to, deal with the fairy tales of Brother Grimm, but the more horrifying versions of them, not the Disney-fied version. It is a world where you, the player, are going to share the same lore knowledge as your character, which I think is a very interesting twist on running like a fairy tale horror game. Being like, yeah, you the player, you know the story of the big bad wolf, but it might not be that big bad wolf. It might be a much more horrifying version of the big bad wolf, which I think is pretty great. It kind of bypasses that like awkwardness of everyone sitting around the table being like, oh, I know this fairy tale, but I'm gonna just have my character play dumb, despite the fact that if you play into said fairy tale, it might create a more interesting experience. I really like that. Like I said, it is a world covered in this fog. It means when you adventure forward with your party mates, you are going to be venturing into this fog that seems to make people and landmarks disappear and might even be sentient, because it is for sure malevolent, which terrifying, right? I also want to note one other thing about the world of Fatherfog is that this fog is so dense and has been present for so long that resources are dwindling. It is very hard to grow your traditional crops in this world. It is very hard to get sunlight. So you're also going to have to deal with this resource scarcity, which, great setup for a horror game. All right, moving on from, the world of Fatherfog, let's talk a little bit about mechanics. And let's talk especially about character creation. I'm actually going to be doing a video that's probably going to come out a couple days after this video, doing an entire character creation session within Fatherfog, because I found that the best way to learn a game, at least for me, is to create a character. But I do want to note a couple cool things going on with the character creation in this game. First and foremost, we have 4 classes that we get to choose from when we are building a character in Fatherfog. Those classes being the worker, the philosopher, the stranger, and the hunter. They're not going to give you too much in terms of class abilities, because that's not what this game is about. This game isn't about playing chivalrous knights going to slay the dragon. It's about survival. It's surviving this fog. It's surviving the horrifying fairy tales that are out there, and we get these 4 classes instead. Each class has their own core ability. Like the philosopher has this ability that whenever they roll a critical success, nearby party members gain 5 hope, which we'll discuss hope in a little bit. And then the stranger has when a non-stranger party member touches you or wakes up in your presence, they lose 2 hope. So fun, right? Along with that, when you are building a character in Fatherfog, you also are going to roll on a cloaks table, a brooches table, on a trinkets table, and you're also going to figure out how much coin you have. And rolling on figuring out how much coin you have actually comes with a lot of very interesting stories that is going to give your character depth right off the bat. For example, if I roll a D100 right now, I rolled a 19. I would start the game with 38 coins, and an old man in strange robes paid you to clean his house while he remained in his personal library undisturbed. What does that mean? But like that, like what does that mean? How can that lead to interesting things and interesting stories like that? Just on that roll with the coin, like, yeah, I have 38 coins, which awesome. But also, like, what's up with that? I'm a big fan of character creation in which it is a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more random, in which I, the player, am gifted some type of wonderful character to play. And Fatherfog does that. Other things in character creation is, you know, we get items, we get weapons, but we also get something that is incredibly unique and cool to Fatherfog. Excuse me while I'm just flipping through these pages real quick. And that is you roll on a legacy artifact. These legacy artifacts are like items from fairy tales. They are these like very unique magic and possibly cursed items that you can get. For example, I don't want to show too many of them off, but like you can roll and get like the horseman's head, the headless horseman's head as your like artifact item that you start the game with, which is very cool. You can also get like Cupid's arrow, bunch of really cool things that you can roll on, which once again are going to define your character and like also play into like what makes them who they are. Very cool. Like I said, I'm going to do an entire character creation video that will come out eventually. So after the character creation section of Fatherfog, we have the how to play section. Fatherfog uses a very basic roll under system. If you're familiar with like Call of Cthulhu or Mothership or like Pendragon, you are going to be familiar with this system. If you're not, let me try to explain what a roll under system looks like. Let's say you are playing a character, you are in the fog, and a tree has fallen on top of you. You are going to want to use your strength to lift it. Well, you have a 35 in your strength, so you are going to roll 2 d10s. Now, one of these d10s is going to be like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, you know, it's going to be in the tens place. So when you roll that, that is going to give you the first part of your percentile. So I just rolled an 8, that's going to be 80. And then the second die is going to be the second part of the number. So I rolled a 0. So that's going to be an 80. I failed that roll. I'm going to lose a little bit of hope and probably take a little bit more damage. That is hopefully a easy way to explain a roll under system. I don't know why I struggle to describe like rolling 2 d10s, but that's what it is. You roll 2 d10s and you get a percentage, and you're trying to roll under whatever your number is. Along with that, Fatherfog also has this thing called the bit system, which I haven't really seen in other games before. And if you've seen it in other games, please let me know, because I would love to like check out those systems. But the bit system, how it works is when you are rolling your 2d10, the second part of the number, so like 0 to 9, not like the 10s, 20s, 30s, that bit is going to actually be used to like do harm to yourself or make you lose hope. So it's a way to condense a bunch of rolls, so you're not like, if something bad happens to you, you're not rolling and then rolling again. You are rolling and then you are going to use that little bit to lose a little bit of hope, which also leads to some pretty fun writing in this book, because it's like, and you lose a little bit of hope, which fun. Some other basic mechanics in Fatherfog that you should know about is you have your health, which if you drop to 0, you know, you're gonna perish, you're gonna die, which we're gonna talk about that more in a bit, because death is like a character in this game and you're going to actually have to bargain for your life. And I want to talk about that a little bit more in depth in a little bit. You also have hope. Hope is this other resource that you have that starts at 100, and every time something bad happens to you, every time you fail a roll, every time, you know, the fog gets denser and the monsters become scarier, you're gonna lose a little bit of that hope. And when that finally gets to 0, or, you know, you fail critically, you are going to become despaired, which can lead to some pretty devastating effects happening to your character. I should also note that despair also is usually a private thing between the person running the game and the player, so I don't want to show too many of them, but there is one things in the despair area, in the despair section, in which you believe that there's fog worms growing, and you kind of become obsessed with the idea that there's worms in the fog. And that's just an example of what like despair can look like. It is this like stacking effect of bad things happening to your character, so you don't want to lose hope. that quickly. There's also simple ways to regain your hope. After hope and despair, we get into the skills section. Skills represent the specialized knowledge that your character knows. In character creation, you are able to pick different skills, and you're eventually able to buy more skills and gain more skills as you play. These skills are going to add bonuses to your rolls. So like, let's say, going back to a scenario in which a tree has fallen on top of you, you are trying to roll under a 37, but maybe you have a common skill in throwing, and you're going to try to throw the tree off of you. This is probably not like the greatest example because you are just like a common person, but maybe you're going to try to push it more, and the person running the game is like, yeah, you can use your throwing skill here. Well, you're going to add a 10% to that check. So if you had 35, it's going to be 45. So it's going to be a little bit easier to roll under, and you can have common skills, which are plus 10 bonuses, expert skills, which are plus 15 to the target number, and then master, which is plus 20 to that number you are trying to hit. And then you can actually go farther than that, which gives you unnatural abilities, which are these cool things that you and the person running the game discuss that might, just give you an advantage, which is cool. Two other things I want to talk about while we are talking about mechanics. The first of those being combat. Combat in this game is very dangerous. Like a lot of OSR games, like a lot of horror games, you don't want to do combat if you are a player, but sometimes it's going to happen. It is fast, it is brutal. The NPCs and monsters and other threats actually don't roll. It's always going to, like, how much damage you are going to take and how much trouble you're going to be in is depending on how good you, the player, are rolling. If you are failing a lot, then you are going to take a lot of damage. And like I said, this is a horror game. You take enough damage quick enough, you are going to not exist anymore, which then leads me to probably one of my favorite things in this book, and that is when you actually go down to zero, death appears. Well, when you go down to zero, you are going to make a check. If you fail, then you die. You're just gone. Some fun things about dying in this game is when you are told to create a character, you're actually told to create two characters because it is that kind of game. Also, when you die, your legacy artifact, that cool fairy tale item you got that I talked about in character creation, well, that is going to somehow appear in your new character's possession. Death also gives you a gift in which you can improve your new character, which is fun. And then if you do pass that body save and you don't die, you're actually going to bargain with death. Death appears to you and only you, the player, in like this dreamscape, and however that plays out is between you and the person running the game. You are then going to roll a D100, and whatever you roll on is going to be what you are going to have to give up to stay alive. That can be everything from your tongue to your name or your reflection, or you might even get lucky and cheat death, which I've seen Final Destination. I don't know how lucky that actually makes you, but there's a bunch of things that can happen when you actually, bargain with death. And once again, like the despair is going to be like these stacking effects. So you might die a couple times in this game, but like your character is going to be pretty unrecognizable and is going to be, having a lot of penalties to themselves. And yeah, that's really everything I want to talk about in this book. There is a bunch more, like an entire, guide section, which is all about running this game. And from what I have read, I am pretty excited to get this to my table. I'm actually going to create some characters and probably run it solo first to just see how dangerous and deadly it's going to get. I have some ideas for some fun fairy tale style horror stories that I want to throw some villagers into. So that's going to be a fun time. But I'm excited. I mean, I haven't really touched on it yet, but I've hopefully shown a lot of the artwork and a lot of the layout design in this book. It is an absolutely beautiful book. They have a lot of really talented people working on this game. I'm very excited to see what happens with Fatherfog because this is a 0 edition. I don't know if I mentioned that yet. Hopefully I did. If not, it's a 0 edition, so that means there is a lot of chance that this book is going to grow, but I mean, the mechanics are solid. What is presented here is very solid. And yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm especially excited because Mothership, while also having simple rules, also spawned so many cool, like, modules and adventures that people created, and I'm really excited to see that same type of community like pop up for Fatherfog. Yeah, I'm very excited for this game. Let me know if you've had the chance to play Fatherfog yet, if you've checked it out. I also should note that Fatherfog, you can pick up the PDF for free, I believe, still on the Tuesday Night Games. I mean, at least it was free when I checked it out before I recorded. I obviously picked up the physical edition, which I think they might actually be sold out of at this time of recording. So hopefully they get more physical books in the future because, like I said, beautiful game. Beautiful book. I'm very happy that it is in my collection. And yeah, have you played Fatherfog? Do you plan on playing Fatherfog? What do you want to see appear in Fatherfog? I've said Fatherfog a lot in this video. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and as always, be excellent to each other.